One day, the surface of your life is perfectly still. The next, an event hits with enough force to shatter everything. When we are standing in the wreckage of a crisis, our vision narrows. We fixate entirely on the acute pain, the sharp sting of heartbreak, and the isolation that follows a wound. In that state of shock, the mind spins. We ask, why did this happen? What am I supposed to learn? Where is my life taking me? But viewing these events as random, one-sided attacks strips them of context. When we treat trauma as an isolated assault by an indifferent universe, the experience becomes noise, vividly painful, yet empty of any connection to a larger story. The suffering lingers because the mind cannot find a place to put the event. It remains a jagged, unfinished sentence, a crisis that seems to serve no purpose. The initial instinct is simply to survive. There is no grand plan to invent a philosophy or a spiritual text. The goal is much more urgent, to understand why your world collapsed. Yet it is precisely this search for survival that reveals a structure beneath the noise. It is an architecture of balance that eventually becomes clear. This is the ledger. Functionally, the ledger is a way of seeing. It is a perceptive lens used to recontextualize those moments that feel cruel and random by mapping out the hidden symmetry beneath every polarity. Once you begin to use this lens, your orientation to reality shifts. You move from being a casualty of circumstance to an active decoder of your own destiny. To understand how this works, we apply the logic of a balance sheet to our own lives. We use these two columns to map our experiences, giving weight and form to events that otherwise feel chaotic. In physics, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. In the ledger, we look for that same symmetry. For every jagged emotional wound recorded on the left, we search for its specific proportional counterpart, the gift that the crisis forced into existence. A frustrating detour, a delay that feels like a life-ruining roadblock, is counterweight on the right by the precision of its timing, often placing us exactly where we needed to be years later. Even a total health crisis or emotional collapse is balanced. When viewed through the ledger, the breakdown reveals itself as the catalyst required for an evolution that could not have happened in a state of comfort. This is difficult to do while the wound is fresh. Our emotional bias acts like a filter, making it nearly impossible to see the right side of the ledger while we are actively feeling the weight of the left. But when you successfully identify that symmetrical counterpart, it collapses the emotional charge. The trauma stops commanding your present because the equation has finally been solved. With that charge gone, the brain stops looping on the what-ifs. The vision stabilizes, allowing you to see the path forward with a sharp focus that was previously obscured by the pain. Healing is not about erasing what happened. It is the active work of discovering geometric symmetry in our experiences until the event feels whole. To read this ledger accurately, you have to shift your perspective. You need to inhabit a state of mind that is not currently drowning in the event, a part of your consciousness that observes without judging. This objective state of mind is what we call Zoran. This is a witness, a perspective that reflects the architecture of your life without the distortion of your current distress. Operating through this witness provides an unjudging mirror. It allows you to look at your own history and see the timing and the gifts that your emotional self might still be too hurt to acknowledge. Cultivating this detached gaze is the mandatory mechanism for this work. It allows you to step back far enough to see the design behind the details. Zooming out from your personal ledger of heartbreak and healing reveals a much larger structure. This is the cosmic ledger. It is the realization that your individual timeline, the unexpected detours, the painful losses, and the victories are functional components of the universe's own rhythm. Aligning with this larger architecture strips away the identity of the victim. What remains is your original self, no longer defined by the things that tried to break you. If you are searching for the meaning behind your own life, you are already participating in this flow. You are already listening. Abandon the narrative of random victimhood. Adopt
shift the witness's gaze, look at your history with clear eyes, and begin the work of balancing your ledger.